It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. This is part 6 of the keyboard and microphones series, and in this video, as you would have seen from the title, I'm going to be having a look at the Rode NT USB and what that pickup looks like. So let's just hop straight into checking out the frequency response graph, which is this. So it's a little bit lower on the lower frequencies. It runs up and runs pretty flat in the mid-range, and then from about 3000 onwards, there's this hill that goes up, and then it sort of falls away at the upper end as it gets closer to the 10,000 hertz range before it flattens out and the graph stops at 20,000. So I would expect that the majority of the keyboard sounds from the spectrums that we've been seeing are really sitting in this lower half anyway, at least for this keyboard that I'm using. So how much will that affect the sound and what you hear because of this increase in the high frequencies? I don't know. It might accentuate things like ping and more metallic sounds that have that higher frequency that you might not have heard from the previous microphones because it's boosting that sound. So it'll be interesting to see what that graph looks like, because the general shape that we've seen so far is that they tend to fall off. They tend to fall off and run down, whereas if this is getting that bump, it might keep it quite level. We don't know, I don't know, haven't seen it yet. We'll check that out. Now, right now you're hearing me on the ribbon microphone, so I will need to dial that down, but in Audacity itself, because it's a USB microphone, I need to change my settings in Windows for that to actually happen. So we're going to be using monkey type, just like we did previously for everything else with a 1 minute. We're going to also record the background noise and whatnot. So right now, this is purely on the ribbon microphone. I've got my settings here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable. So it's competing right now between the two microphones, but on my mixer, I'm actually going to turn down the ribbon microphone. So hopefully everything will be back to normal now, and I can see in OBS that you should be hearing me with the NTR and not the NT USB. So I'm just going to unplug that now. Anyway, right, 98 words with 98% accuracy. Absolutely flying on that particular one. A little bit better than normal, but I cannot say that is something I should complain about. Now, what's really interesting here is this looks super low, super flat. So I'm expecting that there's probably going to be a lot of gain that is required for this. Now, it was at about the 3-second mark, so we'll just take it from about 3.5 to about 13.5 for the noise reduction. And then we'll catch all of that. And then we'll go back to the start, and let's just try and drag that out a little bit so we can see where things are going. So there it is, about 14.5 in, and it should be about a minute and a bit. There we go. So we'll cut it from about there. Then we can select all of that. This amplification is going to be huge, 23, absolutely. Okay, so there's our typical looking graph. Let's just cut that because that's obviously not, I think, accurate for the typing. And we'll go to the analyze plot spectrum. Yes, 54 seconds. Why 54.6 seconds? Why? Right. So, log frequency, and let's stretch that out a little bit. Very familiar at the bottom end with that curvature, and then as we're kind of pushing that top end, as I was saying, it doesn't seem to have a really big drop off. So some of these frequencies might be getting that bump from that extra gain that happens with the microphone at those high frequencies. Really, really interesting. If we actually bring up the frequency again, where is it? There's the USB. So it starts kicking in at about 3,000, 5 to 6,000 at its maximum peak that we're looking at. So 5 to 6,000. This is potentially higher than it could have been on a different microphone where it might be falling off and coming down. So that's something different, something a little bit more unusual. So we're going to save that like we've done with all the others. We'll stack them together, we'll check it out at the end and see how these different graphs look on top of each other with the different microphones and what we could be hearing more or less of using this one particular keyboard. So now there's only one more microphone that I've got in my collection to test, which is the Blue Snowball, and then we'll have the wrap up of all that together. Now, unlike the XLR one, I can't do them together because as far as I can tell, my computer or Windows doesn't handle having dual USB microphones simultaneously because it wants to give priority and say this is where the actual input's coming in from. Of course, if you know differently or you are aware of an alternative way that I can do two USB microphones together, then please let me know, and I can try to use that method and record with the two microphones together. Now, I'm fully aware that I'm not likely to be able to do all 5 microphones together because, as you can see, the way that Audacity at least records and the way that Windows inputs, it basically wants to take one feed or the other. I'm using the microphone feed or I'm using the USB feed. So yeah, we'll just unfortunately have to leave that at that. What we can do, however, is we can actually take all of these individual audio tracks and we can smash them together at the end, and then we can produce an all track kind of thing because they've got their respective frequencies in them, and then do a spectrum analysis on that, and Audacity will let us do that. Okay, rightio, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for coming along and checking it out. If you like this, hit like. If you want somebody else to check out what I'm doing with these microphones, hit that share button. And of course, if you're not subscribed already to this channel, I would love and appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. Find the stop recording button, and here we go. So, thank you very much, and of course, as usual, until next time, happy clacking.